Welcome to another flight sim video. Today we are doing a bit of a first impressions and unboxing of some Moza gear. We have the AY210 force feedback yoke system and also the MFY yoke handle that goes along with it. We're going to be unboxing these and giving you my first impressions on what they look like, how they feel, and what are they like to touch. So if you're interested, let's jump straight into the video. I've used a couple of force feedback yoke systems over the years when it comes to using them within flight simulation, and I was very interested to check out what Moza had to offer. We previously reviewed, and it has been one of my absolute favorite things to use in the last couple of years, which is their AB9 force feedback flight stick. I pretty much use it as my go-to flight stick these days. So very happy, very excited to be checking out what they have for a yoke system. So we're going to be doing that, a bit of an unboxing video right now. For a desktop setup for the AY210 and also the yoke handle, this is the setup that we'll be using with our flight sim. There's three parts to it. One is the yoke base table clamps, which you can get from Moza, or you can use different table clamps, and this is what we'll be using to basically connect the base down. I'm not going to unbox this for this video because it's just a clamp. You guys sort of get the idea for this. We're going to mainly focus on the actual yoke handle and the base itself. Now, from my understanding is that the yoke handle, obviously they're in two separate packages because this yoke handle is a universal one, but also they can be swapped over. So this gives the option for Moza later on to be able to make different yokes. So I'm going to take a look, and also Moza has the normal retail packaging that it comes with, which is very secure. Let's open this up first. There we go. And we have the normal reading material quick start guide using the barcode. And we're not really going to have a look at that too much. Obviously this uses the software that we're used to using with Moza. And let's take a look at what we're going to be using when it comes to this with Flight Simulator. And wow, as to be expected, looking at it straight away, this thing looks pretty high-end. Moza's quality that I've known from using their products when it comes to their truck bundle wheel and also the AB9, that is very high quality. So this does feel quite light, so I'm thinking it's going to be plastic. It does feel like plastic. If I can actually get it out of here, but it feels like very high-end plastic. There we go. That is very secure. Now let me actually put it like this to have a look. So this looks like to be based like a general aviation type style of yoke, and we've got plenty of buttons, but my initial feel is, yeah, it's actually still got a bit of weight to it because you've got the clamp on the back. That's the quick clamp that you can, I haven't pressed it yet, but there we go. You can click that. I'll show you on the video. Click. So there's a bit of weight to it actually. It's actually, yeah, now I'm thinking about it, there's actually a bit of weight to that. So it does feel very sturdy. And I'm doing a bit of flexing here. There's no movement at all, but you can feel a little bit of, actually there's a tiny bit of movement, and I think it's between the joins more than anything else, but all in all that feels quite sturdy. Very comfortable for the thumb positions, and then you've got some trigger buttons. Ooh, they actually feel really nice with trigger buttons. I won't use these as trigger buttons to shoot stuff, but that's be more radio than anything else. Radio button push to talk is generally what I use that sort of stuff for. Autopilot disconnect button is probably what I'd use something like this for. That's pretty cool. And you've got a hat switch, plastic that feels kind of light, and it springs back into place. And this is another hatch switch as well. That feels, to be honest, a little bit more of a hat switch. This feels pretty light. So it's even lighter than, say, an Xbox controller or a PlayStation controller. To me, that feels like it may get loose over time, but we'll have to wait and see. And that's just plastic. Same sort of buttons on the other side here. Yeah, this one feels, that's more my favorite. So I don't know how much I'll use these, if I use them for cameras or not, but push to talk buttons, panning around for camera views. I might only set up a few of these. And we got some buttons up here, so you could use those for trim as well. So on the back there's your push to talk sort of buttons. Might be able to use those for trim, because I use rudder pedals, but if you didn't have rudder pedals, you could use those, I would imagine, for using those for rudder pedals. So all in all though, it's not too bad. You don't want this to be overloaded with buttons, to be honest. Well, that's my personal opinion anyway. Moving over to the middle part, this is interesting here, if you guys can see. So that's quite interesting here. They've got a checklist on the front here, but also they've got some buttons on the right hand side, which is a heading button, nav button, altitude, and approach. I don't know honestly how much I'll use those for, but I guess if I was going for a quick GA flight and I didn't have any of the other peripherals that we use for the cockpit, they would be quite handy to use. So if you're just using this as a GA plane, that would be really, really handy to use. And then I'm not sure what the home button means, S1, that looks like a camera button. I could be completely wrong, or S2, so not sure what these buttons are used for, but hey, they seem pretty solid. Nice tactile feel, touch there, no issues there. But yeah, I could see people using that for GA. Me, probably personally, not too much. I like to have my yokes very, very basic. Actually, the main yokes that I've used over the years is the virtual fly yokes, which pretty much have nothing on them, just like a regular aircraft, real world life aircraft yoke. So, and then we've got the checklist on the front: flaps, green light, stabilizer trim units, cabin report received, and so forth. So I'm not sure what this is actually going off. Maybe a recall auto brakes, maybe a bit of a 737 Boeing sort of style, but all in all, it's passable. I would love to see Moza. Actually, that feels quite good. I would love, that feels quite good. Yeah, I'm probably just not a massive fan of those. Is probably the thing that I'm not a massive fan of. I could actually use them not being there. But other than that, it's very, very, very solid. And having the option that this yoke can be, actually I do like the grips though. The different types of plastic there are very high-end made, and I do like that this can be detached using this guy, and we can get other types of yokes from Moza. So that is something that I'm very, very excited to see, and I think that'll be really, really, really cool. So this is the multi-flight yoke handle for the AY210 force feedback base from Moza. So now this thing is absolutely massive, but then again, all force feedback yokes that I've used are all in the same sort of category. They're pretty hefty units. So I think this thing weighs about 25 kilo or something like that. I don't know, I'm just guessing. It's a lot though, it's a lot. So I believe some of the statistics on this is like 9, and don't quote me on this, 9 newton meters of torque when actually using the yoke like this way, and like 210 on the push. So it's got a fair bit of grunt to it, and also a bunch of different buttons and stuff like that you can actually use on the base. So assuming this is a pull out this way. All right, so we're gonna have to find some room on the bench. Oh. And of course we just whack the camera out, so I'm just going to put that back, and hopefully this thing can slide out. Yeah, this thing's a behemoth. Wow. All right, let's take a look at this guy. Actually, I'll put it on this angle here so you guys can see it on the top camera. And let's just see what we've got here. Standard force feedback manual, all that sort of stuff like that. Will we actually look at it, read it? Probably not, unless we get into trouble. USBs and a power adapter to power this whole thing up using all the different Moza connections. Same sort of types of connections in the AB9. So how are we getting this guy out of here? We got some sort of, I'm just going to pull it out. Well, this is heavy. Okay, that is heavy. That is heavy. What do we got? Power cables, some screws and bolts. Yeah, I don't know what they're for. And you've got the big Moza brick, which is the same type of size. I don't know if you can see this on the top camera. The same sort of massive brick unit that you would normally see with the AB9. So we're kind of used to that sort of stuff. Screws I'll leave in there. Now, one thing I will say straight off the kit, and hopefully that come through with the speaker because it might have hit the mic. But the form factor, without even opening this up, it's very, very skinny compared to what I've used in the past and what we've actually reviewed on the stream. So, wow. That's better than what it looks like in the pictures. It looked closer up. Okay, I'm impressed with that. That is very, very, very cool. So I'm just looking at the front. Wow, okay. See, Moza gets me every time when it comes to flight sim gear, how high quality these guys know how to make their stuff. Like, this thing blows my mind. The AB9 is super high quality, and this base is just blow me away straight off. Hopefully it's got some sort of plastic guard on that, because it looks like scratches. I think it does. But in pictures that I've looked at, this base, these buttons seem to be a little bit closer, and I was thinking, oh, there's too much on here, but now I'm taking a closer look. I am super impressed with this to start off with. This is pretty cool. And just even on the desk there, the form factor is amazing, and just the build quality of this is super cool. I wonder how much it's going to vibrate the desk, but we will have a look at that when it comes to creating a review video. But nav buttons, solid, no wiggle, a little bit left to right, but not up and down. Beacon, strobes, obviously you could do this for anything. Battery, fuel pump, and pitot heat. So pretty much standard sort of stuff there. When it just comes to lights, batteries, fuel pumps for GA flying, that's all you sort of need. And then, assuming this is flap, I would like to see a bigger click in that in my first impression. A little bit wobbly, but it's got a nice little touch. I wish that was like a stronger click, to be honest. What have we got over here? You've got some press buttons here. Oh, these are soft press buttons. They actually could use those as being hard. And then it's got some gear lights, so I don't know if they actually light up or not. I wonder if this has got like backlit lighting. I'm not too sure. I haven't looked at it that closely with it. But they're soft buttons there, so I'm not sure what I use those for. I'd definitely use these, and I'd probably maybe use those for flaps. And I don't know actually what I'd use those for. Maybe they're different switch buttons, and then you could go, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I don't know this, but 1, 2, 3, 4, switch it to 2, then you can do 1, 3, 4. So which means you've got heaps of combinations there. I don't know if that's a thing. Here we've got the flap. I do like that. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so far I'd use those. No problem. And you've got a gear handle. Oh, it's a three-way gear handle. Bit of wobble in it though. I would like to see that stronger. As you can see, when I'm using these sorts of things, I like them to be quite strong. But it's passable. Like this, I sort of want the whole thing to be metal. Like, that's good quality. And there's a power button. Oh, that's your power button to switch it on. So yeah, it's quite interesting. I like the switches because they're nice and metal. I'd like the whole thing to be metal, to be honest, but hey, they're still pretty good. This seems a little bit flimsy. That seems to be a little bit flimsy, but we'll have to see when we go and test it out. But that's honestly my first impressions when it comes to the Moza device. It's actually not as big as, this has been the most compact force feedback yoke system I've used. And obviously we've got the back there, which I haven't looked at yet. And I'm struggling to hold this thing up because I'm a weakling. But you've got the different USB port, the DC import, and then you've got Dev 1, 2, 3, 4, I think. I'm not sure what you would actually use that for. And the cap just fell off too, so obviously. Okay. Be interesting to see how that feels when we're driving the motors on it. But yeah, first impressions is build quality on this thing is super good. Very, very impressive. My only concern so far is these aren't as high end as what I would like to see. Probably more so the gear button here than anything else, but we'll see how we go with that. But as soon as we finish filming this video, I'll be putting this guy together and we'll use it for a couple of weeks before we'll start seeing it in a review video. So a big thank you to our friends over at Moza for sending this over. I'm super excited to check it out and tell you guys my honest opinion when it comes to this, because it's really interesting to see some force feedback really making it a resurgence and a lot of different options coming around. And I think these guys build great equipment. I'm a big fan of the AB9, so I'm intrigued to see how this is going to be. Thank you very much for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this. We've got a ton of hardware. This is going to be the hardware channel to check out all the different options on the Oz Flight Simmer channel, and we will see you in another video real soon. Happy simming, everybody.